This is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by the Bearded Iris Brewing Company, here to give you some reaction to the NCAA's baseball bracket being announced. The look and feel around me may be a little different than normal. I'm on vacation in Cancun. Yeah, family trip scheduled here long ago, but wanted to weigh in with some reaction of some things regarding the SEC in particular and the NCAA tournament. And let's just start from the top. Let's go with seeding and hosting and all those things. Didn't have a huge issue with most of the hosting decisions. Now, I would have given a host spot to to Campbell over Indiana State. Campbell was 9-5 against the RPI top 50, and Indiana State was 2-9. Indiana State also, I think, had a presence on the committee. Could be wrong about that. That's one thing I would have done differently, but the NCAA mostly went straight RPI, except for Auburn. And boy, did that get some controversy in the state of Alabama. I had no problem with Auburn getting in and not even as a 13 overall seed. Alabama's a 16, though. That seemed a little ridiculous, and I think some people sounded off about that. I agree. I would have expected Alabama probably closer to the 10 line. John Cohen, the chairman of the committee, is Auburn's AD. So no surprise, no shortage of criticism and controversy around that. But anyway, I think that they got 15 of the 16 hosting sites right. I would have done Campbell. I thought South Carolina deserved to be there for reasons that I've outlined many times. Carolina wound up winning, 21, 22 games, something like that against the RPI top 50. So I had no issue with that. Moving along, some things that caught my eye in terms of selection. I would have put, I think, UC Irvine and Southern Cal in the field instead of a couple of teams that the NCAA put in there. I know Kansas State was a team that felt like it maybe had a beef, and probably Notre Dame too. Was a little surprised to see Louisiana get in, I guess, and I don't know who else I would have taken out. Didn't follow the bracket math as close to the last few days, but I did think Southern Cal and Irvine were two teams that I probably would have put in. The West Coast kind of got the short end of the stick this year. One hosting site, which is not a huge surprise. I think that was deserved, but I thought some teams out west had an argument to get in. Arizona, that's one I think that baffled a lot of people. 12 and 18 in the Pac-12, and a couple of teams, USC and Arizona State, left out ahead of Arizona. But Arizona is actually not a bad team. I'm not sure it earned its way into the tournament, but it is there. All right, some things that stood out to me in terms of pairings. And I guess the biggest thing to me as it relates to the SEC was a Clemson regional. I think if you're Clemson and Tennessee, it is perfectly explainable if both teams are unhappy. I thought this was something you could kind of see coming last week if geography were a factor completely like it usually is. I think that Clemson is the closest place to Knoxville that Tennessee could have been sent to, but my goodness, Clemson won, 16, 17 in a row, whatever it is. It may be more than that. Just won the ACC tournament. The Vols, of course, have had fits playing outside of Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Tennessee is probably that 2 seed that I most likely wouldn't want to draw. So if I'm Clemson, I'm probably not really thrilled about that. But on the other hand, if I'm Tennessee, man, you could have gotten sent to Indiana State or a little bit of an easier regional instead. The Vols sent to what I think is a top 5 team in the country. Oh, by the way, Tennessee's opening game will be against Charlotte. That's where Andrew Lindsey, who has been Tennessee's Friday night starter, pitched until he transferred to Tennessee. Actually, he did not pitch a year ago, but has pitched against Charlotte before. So that's just another oddity to the matchup. And here's another thing that was odd about the Clemson regional. Lipscomb, which happens to be my alma mater, was sent to Clemson as well. It's literally 2 miles or so separate Vanderbilt and Lipscomb, 2 or 3 maybe. And so I thought with geography, Lipscomb would be a slam dunk to go just literally a few blocks over and play Vandy, but that did not happen. Lipscomb being sent to Clemson, another weird thing about this regional. Okay, some other things I noticed in going through this in no particular order. I've talked about Alabama getting the 16 seed. I didn't think the draw was awful. Boston College, Troy, Nichols, that is a very navigable regional for the Crimson Tide. Arkansas, now that's one. I don't know that I'm crazy about drawing TCU and Arizona as my second ones, and I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here a little bit. I know I didn't think Arizona deserved to get in, but sometimes deserve to be in and better team are two different arguments. Arizona this year scored about 2.1 runs more than it gave up in games. A lot of the computers really liked Arizona, had them as a top 30 team, non-RPI computers. TCU, a team that before the season, boy, this was a team that I think a lot of people had as, certainly a national seed caliber team. It didn't really go that way for TCU this year. TCU kind of caught fire late and then got in the tournament that way. But that's a team that a lot of people thought was certainly an Omaha contender before the season. We know how that went with Ole Miss last year. Sometimes that team that maybe barely deserves to be in ends up being pretty good. And so I'm not crazy about the draw that Arkansas got here. I'm not saying Arkansas is not going to get through it because I'm going to pick Arkansas to get through the regional. But that's just one thing that stood out to me when I looked through this is, I don't know, that not my favorite draw perhaps if I'm Arkansas is getting TCU and Arizona in the regional. Again, think they can handle. Oh, by the way, Santa Clara, one of the better 4 seeds out there too. That's a team that was just outside the top 50 of a lot of the non-RPI computers that I really like, right in that 50 to 55 range. So that is not a slam dunk 4 seed to beat either. So if I'm Arkansas, I'm not super, super crazy about the draw I got there. Moving down to Auburn. Southern Miss, not an easy one, but certainly something that Auburn can pull off. Of course, Southern Miss was eliminated in its super regional a year ago by Ole Miss and had beaten LSU when it hosted a year ago. So Southern Miss, very familiar with getting SEC teams. Sanford, not a great 3 seed, probably one of the weaker 3 seeds, and Penn just sort of a middle of the road 4 seed. And by the way, I've not looked into pitching matchups and stuff like that yet. Going down, we've already talked about Clemson, Gainesville. Texas Tech, another team I don't know that I'm crazy about seeing. Connecticut is a 3 seed. I think a lot of people had them as a 2. Actually, I think I got that mixed up. I think Connecticut may have been the 2 and Texas Tech the 3. But Tech's not a team that you want to see in your regional, probably as a 3. Again, that's a program that knows how to get to Omaha. And then Florida gets maybe the easiest team in the field in its opener with Florida A&M. Moving down as it pertains to the SEC, I thought Kentucky, that draw with West Virginia, Ball State, and Indiana, one that's gotten a lot of attention. Indiana, a team that I think a lot of people might have thought would have been a 2, but was a 3. Indiana's kind of a borderline top 50 team, just inside it, according to most of the computers. West Virginia team that probably 2 weeks ago, a lot of people thought might be a national seed. So Kentucky, I think, hosting for the first time in that park. Doesn't get the easiest of draws either in that one. LSU, boy, here's one. I don't know that I'm crazy about playing Oregon State in that winner's bracket game, presuming the favorites win. Sam Houston State, a 3 that probably could have been a 4, although I think I would have put Sam Houston State as a 3. And Tulane, one of the worst teams in the field. It was 19-40, but won the American tournament. So LSU now has probably an easier road if it wants to hold Skeens to game 2, which is what I would do. So the Tigers get that. Oregon State, I think LSU could have probably been served an easier 2 in that one than it got. Again, that's a team with some know-how of how to make Omaha. That never makes me feel great if I'm drawing a team like that, but that's the draw that LSU got. Moving on down the bracket, here's another one. Boy, South Carolina, I don't know that draws got much tougher in terms of a 2 and 3 than Campbell and North Carolina State. Again, I thought Campbell, a team that should have hosted. NC State, a team that I think a lot better than the record shows. And, of course, a team that's had some recent history with getting to Omaha and having some success in regionals and one of the probably top 20 talented programs year in and year out. We'll see if Carolina can get healthy. But that's not the easiest matchup. Now, I guess the consolation, if you're the Gamecocks, is Central Connecticut is your 4, not a super tough one. Stanford got an interesting draw with Texas A&M, which finished runner-up in the SEC tournament to Vanderbilt. The Aggies getting sent out there. I don't think anybody super excited to play Texas A&M right now. Stanford, I'm just not sure this team is as good as the number 8 overall seed that it got, but Stanford, another team that has had success in the tournament. Fullerton, a team that wouldn't have been in the field is a 3, barring winning the Big West regular season, which that is a conference that does not have a tournament. So San Jose State rounds out that region. Looking down to the SEC, one team left, that's Vanderbilt, which to my surprise did win the SEC tournament. And if you're Vandy, here's the thing that's a little bit scary. Carter Holton, Vandy's one, didn't throw the entire tournament. You might see him in Omaha if Vanderbilt gets that far. I don't think you'll see him in a regional. Hunter Owen, Vanderbilt's 2, had sat out a couple weeks through 3 innings, I think, against Florida. That was it. Vandy went through the losers bracket still, basically without its 1, 2, and really 4 pitchers. Andrew Dukanich, their 4, hasn't thrown in probably 2 months. Might be available at some point in the postseason. But I don't think that you really expected Vandy to win the SEC tournament. I know I didn't, but that's what happened. And the Commodores now pretty much on a roll. They'll host Oregon, which is not one of the easier 2 seeds you could draw. Oregon, a team with kind of a deep bullpen, so that'll be interesting. Xavier's at 3. I don't think that's a team that probably scares a lot of people. And Eastern Illinois, kind of a middle-of-the-road 4. If you look at super regional pairings for the SEC, some interesting stuff. Alabama's a 16 again. I'm really hacked off if I'm Alabama that I'd have to play Wake, probably winning the regional. Wake, looking at that one, Northeastern, George Mason, and Maryland. I think Wake gets through that one okay. Maryland can be a challenge at times. You got an interesting matchup of 2 and 15 if the chalk wins out, Florida and South Carolina. Now, don't forget, South Carolina swept Florida. What's it been, a month and a half ago? Of course, that's eons ago in terms of roster management with Carolina getting hurt. That one would be in Gainesville. The first one was in Columbia where Carolina swept Florida. But again, that seems like it's forever ago. Arkansas, if it wins, what again I think is a tough regional, would draw Indiana State. Potentially, let me see who else is in that regional. North Carolina, Iowa, both very capable of winning that one. So Arkansas would host what in my mind would want to be one of probably the easier regional draws if both teams get through. Super regional pairings, that is. If I'm Auburn as the 13, I'm not super excited about going to Clemson. Of course, you could get Tennessee coming out of that, although I'm not real confident about the Vols playing in Clemson, given the way they played on the road. You got a 5-10 LSU-Kentucky rematch. That one happened. I believe that series was played in Lexington. And Kentucky, I think, just won 1 of 3 games, but gave LSU fits with its style of play. That could get interesting. Vandy and Oklahoma State. I think Stillwater is the toughest regional maybe of all of them. Dallas Baptist, a team that had a case to be a 1. Washington, a tough 3. And Oral Roberts, a 4 that in my mind should have been a 3. Went 23-1 in the Summit, which is an awful baseball conference, but going 23-1 in any league is an accomplishment. And ORU, a team that the non-RPI computers had inside the top 50. So Vandy will get the winner of what I think is the most competitive regional in the field. Virginia will get Coastal. Again, that's non-SEC on non-SEC. And then 8-9 Stanford, Miami matched up. 2 teams that are not in the SEC. Although if A&M wins the Stanford regional, which would not surprise me, you could see the Aggies maybe going to Miami if Miami is able to win that. All right. I don't know how much more coverage we'll have this week. Again, I'm on vacation, and it's a little tough to watch TV down here. You have to sort of trick the system. Mexico's cable is a little different than America's, and in order to get my streaming cable from home, I've run into some issues with that too, being out of area. But in any case, we may not do any more baseball content, maybe till Friday or Saturday, depending on things. But wanted to weigh in with some regional thoughts. Hope people enjoyed that. To those of you traveling to regionals, have a safe and happy trip. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris. We'll see you again soon.